2xKO is Riot's new free-to-play fighting game, and I feel like we haven't had a really big tag fighter since Dragon Ball FighterZ, which was in like 2018. So I wanted to make an in-depth guide on what you should do if this is your first ever fighting game / tag game. The goal of this video is for someone new to have a concrete game plan they can bring into every game and something they can work towards to learn the basics without feeling overwhelmed or lost. This video should serve as a baseline you can build on, adapt, and change as you get better. In this video, I'll be going over 3 main things. Some basic tips to get you familiar with what you should be doing in this game, what to do on offense when you get in on your opponent, and what to do on defense to get away from your opponent. With all that explaining out of the way, let's get started with some basic tips. Before getting into anything, if you're brand new to fighting games, you should turn on Pulse. You can enable it by pressing whatever button is here at the character select screen. As you'll know, it's enabled through the little icon at the top next to your name. Pulse makes it so whenever you mash an attack button, you'll get an auto combo. There's a lot you have to think about, so using this while you're learning will help you focus on how to play and lessen the mental load. For fighting games, there are 3 states that you have to worry about as a player, and being aware of the goal of these 3 states will put you ahead of other beginners. These 3 states are neutral, offense, and defense. These are very nuanced and complicated states, but the basics you should know is neutral is a state where no one really has an advantage and both players are moving around trying to either get in to start their offense or stay back to not let the opponent start theirs. Offense is the state where you're attacking your opponent and trying to get as much damage as you can. And finally, defense is when someone is pressuring you with offense and you're trying to get away back to neutral. Everything you do will always be in these 3 states, and even though we won't be talking about what to do in neutral, just being aware that these 3 exist is important in shaping how you approach the game. All you really need to know for now is you want to be on offense as much as possible, and if you're on defense, your goal should be try to block your opponent's attacks and get away so you can start your own offense. Fighting games are like a seesaw, where you both take turns on offense and defense, so being aware when it's your turn to attack and your turn to defend is very important to think about. Or you'll just get smacked in the face because you're pressing buttons at the wrong time. But enough with this theory stuff. How do you move? Movement is one of the most important things you must master in this game. Learning how to dash around and dodge attacks and when to go in and when to wait will be something immediately noticeable from an experienced player and a beginner. For moving, you'll usually want to be using your dash button about 90% of the time. Walking in this game is pretty slow and you can instantly act out of a dash, so you should be trying to dash forward and backwards to bait opponents' moves and make your approaches more unpredictable. An example of this is don't just run in a straight line at your opponent. If they see you doing that, they're just gonna hit you. Instead, try to run forward for a bit, then stop and block for a second and see what they do. They might throw out a big move or get scared and jump at you, giving you a free punish. So don't be afraid to have some fun and be a little tricky. Another important concept that you should be aware of is anytime you want to switch characters, it's a good habit to throw out a big move or a projectile move for your teammate / other character before, so they have something to help them out. This pattern of your partner coming out and you using a move to cover them into instantly tagging is something you will see a lot, and it's just a good habit to build over time. Some easy examples of this concept is after your teammate uses break, all you need to do is throw out a special move and swap. Same thing, if they push block for you, throw out a special move, then swap. Even if they just raw assists and you want to swap to let them fight instead, you can throw out a move and swap. Some specials I could point to as an example for this would be Jinx Rockets, Echo's Time Winders, Brahms Poro, Alawi's Tentacle Slam, and much more. To be successful in this game, you'll want to be swapping a lot when you can, instead of fighting it out until your first character is dead and leaving your teammate to fight alone. This is a very easy to fix mistake I see a lot of beginners make. Final thing I'll mention in this section is be sure to be using your supers whenever you can. The meter doesn't transfer from round to round, so try to either use it at the end of your combos or use it in neutral to catch people whiffing buttons or assists. Even if you die, you can still help out your other character / teammate by pressing down and assist, and you'll use a super assist from the grave that'll use the meter. How you use it will vary from character to character, so be sure to test them out and see what they can do on your character. Note, if you're using Pulse, the auto combos will usually just end in a super, so don't worry about this too much. So you should be trying to dash and dodge attacks to help you close the distance until you finally get in and start offense. So if you end up getting a hit, great. If you're playing with the Pulse fuse, you can usually just mash any attack button and an auto combo will come out. This is a great baseline if you're just starting out, and I recommend just getting used to doing this if you hit someone. But if you're a little more experienced and aren't interested in using Pulse or want something a little deeper for your offense, you can do a Magic Series. A Magic Series is way simpler than it sounds. all you need to do is press the next ascending button in your combo. So if you had a light attack, you want to press a medium after, and if you started with a medium, do a heavy after. The full order that you should keep in your head is light, medium, heavy, specials. This order should work out for you no matter what character you're playing and no matter what button you press first. With that info, if you get a hit, you should try this combo. You'll hit light, medium, into heavy launcher. To do a heavy launcher, you just want to press down and heavy. So altogether, it would look like this. After the launcher, you want to hold up and forward so your character jumps in the air after the enemy, and just do light, medium, heavy again. This time, you end in a special move. This is a basic combo that can be the base for learning more difficult stuff down the line. So once more, putting everything together, you'll do light, medium, heavy launcher, then hold up forward, and then press light, medium, heavy, special. Your offense doesn't end here though. After you knock someone down, you still have some options on how to keep the pressure going. Alright, knockdowns. All you need to be aware of is the 3 options they have to get off the ground. These options are normal getup attack, and rolls. First up, dealing with normal getups. This will be the most common option if your opponent doesn't press anything when they're knocked down. The simplest way to deal with this is to run up to where they're knocked down and try to time an attack at the exact moment they get up. This is usually referred to as a meaty, and what makes it good is as long as your enemy doesn't use an invincible move or block, you'll end up hitting them and you can loop your offense. An easy way to practice this is going into the practice and setting the ball into attacking when they get up. You should get a hit every time if you're timing it correctly, and a little box saying interrupt or punish should appear on the side of the screen confirming you hit them trying to press a button. The next option they have is a get up attack, which is an invincible attack that will push you back. The option is very straightforward to counter, and all you really have to do is run up to the knockdown guy and block. This will leave you right in their face and you can attack right after and get a full combo. The final option they can use is rolling. Rolling makes it so they can either roll left or right depending on which direction they decide to hold. This option is pretty difficult to deal with, but if you see them going for it a lot, it can be pretty simple to punish. If you expect your enemy to roll, all you need to do is spam down plus your dash button. This will make your character dash towards your enemy, and because you're doing down plus dash, it'll actually track the direction they roll, and you can grab them out of it, leading to a hard knockdown. Note, if this is too difficult, you can just dash up and meaty instead, just like the normal getup, except you gotta chase them first. If you're having trouble with any of these options, the trading mode is really solid, and you can set the bot to do any of these options on knockdown. Forward and air throws will give you a hard knockdown, which is really good because it removes their ability to roll, so they can only get up attack or normal get up, making it so there's less options you'll need to cover. Now I know this is a lot to take in for a beginner, but I would recommend just dashing up to them and going for meaty, and only adjusting if they show they can do other get up options. The reason I say this is a lot of beginners will be pressing buttons after they get up, trying desperately to attack you, and if you meaty them, it'll just lead to an infinite vortex for you, where you'll be doing your basic combo, getting a meaty on their wake up, and repeat until they die. But don't forget, all of this only matters if you get the hit. So, what do you do if they end up blocking your approach? Well, it's still fine. You still have a chance to mix them up, and if you get a clean hit, you can get a full combo. This time, you'll want to go into a basic magic series again, but instead of doing your launcher like you would on hit, you'll want to end with this heavy into a special. So the sequence would be light, medium, heavy, special. Now, quickly after you use your special, you'll want to call your assist and swap with them immediately. This will result in a scenario where your opponent will have to block the special that your first character used, and your second character or duel will have a chance to try to get hit on your opponent. If they do, awesome. Loop back to what you learned earlier for offense. If not, that will most likely result in the end of your turn, and you'll probably have to try to get in again. It will vary a lot depending on the character you use, but a good special is one that has a lot of hits or side switches. Some good examples are Jinx's miniguns, Echo's temporal slip, Fi's multi-punch, and basically any move that can lock down the enemy for a while. But the thing is, you won't always be able to run in and attack your enemies. So what do you do if you are forced to block? That leads us into our next chapter. Firstly, if your opponent gets a clean hit on you like this, there isn't really much you can do. You kind of have to eat the combo and start thinking about what your options are after you get knocked down, unless you have break. Your break meter is that green bar right under your health, and if it's full, you can break out of any combo by pressing tag plus S1 or S2. If you're playing with the duo, be aware that your duo will have to break for you because it's an action involving tag, but it's pretty much your one get out of jail free card you'll have in the round, so be sure to use it wisely. Something to keep in mind is your break does transfer between rounds, so you don't want to waste it if it looks like you're going to lose the round or you have enough health to win anyways. An easy rule of thumb is to try to use it earlier in the round if they get an opening so you can save some health. Now, it is important to know your burst can be blocked if they predict you're going to use it, but I wouldn't really worry about it because no one's trying to do that early on, and you should just burst if you think you're going to take a lot of damage. Also, I want to say, don't try to block the burst yourself either, because you're just starting out and you're not going to be knowing the timings for stuff like that. Just take the damage. and if they burst, hey, they're out of the resources. But now let's go back and explain what to do if you were able to block in time. Blocking's pretty simple. You just have to hold back when you're going to be attacked. By default, you should be blocking low majority of the time, which is done by just holding down and back. And the only time you should block high is if they're attacking from the air or using an overhead. It's hard to explain what's an overhead, but it's generally a slower attack that is going to attack high. So we have to stand block it just by holding back and not down. The reason you default to blocking low is because lows in this game are really fast, but with overheads it jumps so you have more time to react if you see it coming. After you block that first hit, they will probably be attacking you with a lot of attacks to try to get around your block or make you attack at the wrong time. But it's important to remember, just hold block and wait for your turn. Like I said before, offense and defense is like a seesaw. If you just keep blocking, eventually you'll be able to make enough space to be able to get away and start your own offense. Your goal is not to find a random hit while blocking. If you do that, you're just gonna get hit. Be patient and try to get away from your opponent by defaulting to blocking low and only blocking high when you need to. But you don't always just have to block and accept the mix your opponent is doing to you. There are other options to help get the opponent away from you too. If you press dash while you're blocking, you'll do a retreating guard, which will make you slide away and get away from your opponents easier during their pressure. This option is super strong against beginners, and you should be honestly spamming it if you're new. Now, the only issue with this is if your opponent catches on that you're using this a lot, they can interrupt it with the low. So if they start doing that, be careful and use it a little less. You can also use push block, which is a really strong option if your assist is available. You can push block by pressing the tag button while blocking, or if you're playing with a friend, they will have to press it for you. This option is also very strong because you'll push whoever's attacking you away, getting you mostly out of trouble, but just be wary because it doesn't push their assist away, so if they're attacking with two characters, be ready to block if they swap. But let's go all the way back to the start if you weren't able to block their hit and they got in on you without break. At this point, you're probably going to take a lot of damage to whatever combo they're cooking up, and you should be thinking about what your option is after on your wake up. Wake up is the counterpart to knockdowns, and your main goal should be to get away from your opponents. One of the easiest options you could do is just normal get up and block, but be careful with this option because if they have their meaties ready, they'll just hit you and you'll be back to blocking all over again. This is where you can incorporate rolling. You can roll by holding in either direction, and you roll either left or right depending on where you held. Rolling in general is pretty good, and I say try to abuse it until they show they can grab it or chase it down consistently. It's usually better to roll towards them because most people will run at you and you'll just roll behind them. Final option you have is get up attacks, which can be a good way to get opponents that are just pressing a lot of buttons on you. The only thing to keep in mind is this option is pretty dangerous because if they're expecting it or you're using it way too much, they can just block it and get a full combo on you. So only try to use this if your opponent is really aggressive and it seems like they aren't thinking or just you're super sure they're going to be pressing something on your wake up. And that's everything you need to know as a beginner. Now, obviously there are a lot of other things I left out of this video due to them being out of the scope of what I wanted to cover, just being more complicated, or I just didn't think it was that important, but this video should serve as a strong baseline for you to get started and become more conscious of the decisions you're making in game. I recommend coming back to this video as you learn and just try to incorporate everything slowly. It's going to take a lot of time, but I think these are all really useful stuff. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe. I put a lot of work into it, and if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them in the comments below. Alright, peace.